Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever or wherever you are tuning into today's podcast. I'm Adam Parry, the editor of Event Industry News and your podcast host today. Today, I am actually joined by Kevin Lorch, Managing Director of EventsCase. And Kevin's role within EventsCase is to look after all aspects of sales, marketing, and operations within the UK and EMA region. Kevin, welcome to today's podcast.
Adam, thanks for your time.
Kevin, I want to talk to you about virtual and hybrid events from the technology provider side. I've spoken extensively recently to organisers, how they see it. But from an international tech provider, a company that I know is dealing with some very high profile clients as well, I'm really looking forward to getting your kind of angle on it. But before we jump into that, just to paint the picture, what's your background in events? How did you into it, and a little bit more about, I guess, what you do at EventsCase?
Yeah, no problem. So I've been at EventsCase for about a year now, and my background is typically enterprise sales, SaaS software sales. About 4 years ago or so, I got into the event technology world with a Vancouver-based company called EventBase, similar name, but different. And they provided specifically sort of premium event apps. So we were working with people like South by Southwest, Mobile World Congress, SAP, HPE, and their series, but just specifically around the event app side of things, and very premium level. Following on from there, took the move over to EventsCase to come on as their MD, and really exciting because it gave the opportunity to start getting involved with the other aspects of event technology. So, as a real high level overview of EventsCase, we're there to provide every piece of technology you would typically need, from pre-events with the event websites and registration and ticketing, to on the day facilitating check-in and access control and audience engagement with event apps as well. So sort of the bigger picture of things. And for us, EventsCase are eight years old now. Possibly when you look at it and say, well, one of the newer players on the market, certainly one of the more innovative. We're out there talking to a lot of organizations and being really innovative in what we do, but it just gave that opportunity then to start working across the broader spectrum. And I think, as you mentioned there, I'm based out of the head office in the UK, normally in London, but now at home as everyone else is, and just manage the team of the sales guys there, product managers, and also our team, which are based out in Dubai.
Amazing, mate. So yeah, EventsBase, who I've known for a long time, and then EventsCase. I wouldn't call EventsCase one of the new players. I would call it one of the founding event tech companies. When I first came in, probably not too much further than 8 years ago. Probably, I've been in the industry about 15 years or so now. I can remember Jose being one of those first kind of MDs, then founders of event technology companies that I engaged with at the time, because my appetite back then, and it still is today, was like, what is all this great tech? What can we do with it? And I've seen the evolution of EventsCase quite a lot over the last 8 years or so. Very much start off as a platform, and then really bolt on technologies that are needed by the industry and by organizers to get that holistic kind of all-in-one platform and package. I guess before we start talking a little bit about virtual events, then was hybrid or virtual always part of the EventsCase roadmap, or had you already been delivering it previously to the pandemic? No.
I mean, in all honesty, go back 6 or 7 months, and virtual events wasn't really something that we were necessarily focused on. And you'll probably speak to a lot of people in exactly the same way. And that's mainly because it just wasn't a massive market. And the live events, we were extremely busy with physical events. So no, it wasn't something we're specifically focused on.
Do you think it'll be for the foreseeable future? Do you think it's now part and parcel of what will be expected of technology providers like yourself to be able to support those online elements of events, however they may kind of look in the future?
I think only time will tell about whether or not there's an appetite to continue working in the virtual world. I think from my perspective, I look at it and I'm speaking to a lot of people every day about what their events are going to look like. Now, naturally, there's still a huge amount of uncertainty. So we look into September, October, November, December, we don't really know. But I do feel that hybrid is going to be here for a long time. I just think about my own experiences, and I've got a family here. Do I want to be traveling? Probably not so much right now. So it might not be the fact that it's laid out in law that we can't host events for larger scale. It might just be personal preference. And if it's personal preference, then there's going to be people that are going to opt to want to do things virtually, and therefore it probably is going to be here to stay for quite some time.
Well, that leads me quite nicely into, I guess, one of my first questions for you. You know, as an international company, as a company that has a global footprint with offices all around the world and obviously customers all around the world, where do you think we'll start to see events emerging? Do they have dates vary depending on where they are in the world?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly the team out in Dubai, when you look at what they're doing now and what the feedback is from there, Qatar are opening up to large-scale events, I think, pretty much within the next few months. And they're starting to run a fair few events. So I think that's going to be the first area where we're going to see more and more live events happening. And then you can speak to some people within the UK who simply say, yeah, actually, no, September is when we're going ahead, or August is when we're going ahead. But I think certainly from our perspective, places like the Middle East are where we're going to have the first sort of live events happening again.
Kevin, I guess my next question for you, mate, is as an event tech provider, how would you piece together the perfect set of technologies to make a really good experience from the attendee perspective, but also actually from a perspective from marketing, sales, operations, etc., from the organizer side? What would that look like to you?
Well, in terms of what we can do, we can provide pretty much all of the technologies that are there to facilitate the event. So what you've got to remember, especially on the virtual world, is that for a virtual event, the platform is your venue. So you want it to look really, really slick and represent your brand. And we can do all that. The element that we can't necessarily do at the moment, or don't have that much of an interest in doing, is the video production side of things. There's people out there that are going to do all of that type. So in an ideal world, and certainly for the large scale events, we're recommending that our clients work with a production company who will piece together things and have someone in the ear telling so-and-so that they're going on too long or they need to switch to the next step. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. For smaller scale events, there can easily be the ability to manage that all in one place with your own technologies and tools like Zoom. And it really does depend on the scale of the event itself. What we're finding is we're talking to our clients, we're talking to our prospects, we're getting a good understanding of what their requirements are, and we're able to work with them to make a call about whether or not they need to engage with a production company, which we can assist them with, or they need to engage with maybe a third-party tool, or even just something as simple as a Vimeo to make sure that we can get their content up onto our platform. Because the most important thing is you don't want the attendee dropping off of your venue and going somewhere else for the content, and we're able to sort of fix that all in one place.
Yeah, I guess attention spans are where, as organizers now with online events, we're very much vying with everything else that's going off around that person, right? You know, somebody that comes to a physical place, you've captured their attention for the amount of dwell time that they're there, and it generally extends from, you know, a couple of hours to a couple of days, doesn't it? When, especially if somebody's paid to attend, especially at the moment with working from home, you're also vying with the attention of maybe your partner or the dog, or even in the
9-year-old twins and a 9-week-old puppy for me. So yeah, it's.
We're all. I think I have this feeling that when we all start going back working from the office, it's going to be a really weird environment that we don't have all this like background noise going on. But I guess in the real world where we are now, event organizers do have that challenge, don't they? They, you know, it's very much, there's lots of other things that can take somebody's attention away very easily, because you don't have to walk out of a physical venue to call. You can literally just log off, I guess.
But also, if you think about it, in terms of an actual event, breakout sessions are within the venue. You don't want your team going off and disappearing to the local coffee shop or another venue. And it is the same for a lot of these virtual events. You want everything consumed in one place. You don't want, here's a link out and we disappear off onto Zoom and, as you say, then start looking up something else. So that's what we're trying to help facilitate, but it's sometimes there is a part of plugging in some third-party tools to do that.
So do you think there's anything that kind of makes up that event tech stack for you that you would class as the cool stuff at the moment, the things that really capture people's attention, or even maybe if that's format as well, if you've got any experience on, because I think that's one of the things that people are looking for at the moment is like, what format do we need to do to make this
Yeah.
engaging? So what's your advice there, mate?
Well, I mean, format-wise, yes, it's really, really difficult to say. I normally have a one-day event with back-to-back sessions, and I'm expecting everybody to sit down and work through those sessions in one place. So we're finding there's a lot of, okay, maybe we should make this over 2 or 3 days. The second side of things I think that's interesting is around the networking functionality. So typically at an event, you've got all these different sessions going at different times, and you might keep networking maybe, all right, there's networking times, but it can be a bit more sort of open. And we're sort of finding that actually building networking time into the agenda does help, because you've got specific time for doing that networking where here's a list of attendees, we're going to go through it, we're going to find people to engage with, and we're going to meet with them. The concept of virtual roundtables is working quite well, and actually adding that in. Whether or not these are cool and new, no, they're actually just mimicking what typically happens at a live event. And we are finding that there's still fundamentally the same stuff that's important. Security is really, really important, probably more important now because of the issues with online. And actually networking and having relevant content is still the same. So there's not necessarily anything new and cool. It's just adapting it.
I think adapting it to and maybe lubricating it a little bit more online and helping people along, especially if it's not something that they've experienced before. I had this really strange experience, and I would class myself as very much an extrovert most of the time. I got thrown into an event the other day, which was totally something that I'd not experienced before, but the networking element there was essentially, here's a screen, turn your microphone and your camera on, and we're going to match you with somebody. I actually found that quite scary. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Backed by it. But I guess as our audience as well become more used to and aware of how, or what the expectations are when we're networking online and how online events work, I guess from the organizer's job, that will become a little bit easier, because you won't have to do the big education piece on this is going to make you feel engaged. It'll be more experience based on what's expected, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, for whether or not it's live, virtual, or hybrid, things like recommendation engines are really, really great. And they are cool because there's a huge amount of content out there. And just like you have on Netflix and Spotify and Amazon, you are expecting things to be recommended to you. And actually that works quite well for the virtual world, because you've got all this content up on a website. So let's start to look at what's recommended. You've got all these attendees, which are going to be increasing number of attendees now at a virtual event, because there's no limit on capacity. So who do we recommend you engage with? And that stuff we were working on pre-COVID-19, and it's stuff that's now continuing through the virtual world as well.
Would you see that as well, Kevin, that would mean that, I'm going to an event, you're going to an event, the system knows that we're connected in some way. We have some form of relationship, whether that's a connection on LinkedIn or we're from the same company or that kind of stuff. Could you see a future where what you do influences my recommendations as well, because we have a relationship, or even maybe a way that, because you know that I'm at the event, that you suggest other people or other content that to me?
There's real simple ways of doing that already. I mean, first of all, we already have a recommendation engine where we can filter out other individuals and matchmake. That's simple stuff. But actually, let's say I'm a CMO and I'm attending this event. Well, we could look for our CMOs, what sessions are interested to them, and recommend those sessions to like-minded people. So there's easy ways of doing that type of recommendation. And that exists, like I said, whether or not it's a physical event, a live event, or virtual. Actually, sometimes it's a little bit easier to make those recommendations on the web, because generally that would go through something like a mobile app as well.
Okay, it's interesting. I guess, what do you think as well that we're seeing now that maybe won't last? There's always iterations of technology and types of events, and I think lots of people have been doing the whole straight to session webinar, and now they're trying to get a little bit more sophisticated, and certainly bigger organizers are trying to get more sophisticated with lead generation and ROI and that kind of stuff. Do you think we're seeing anything now that actually won't test last the time, should I say?
Look, I think that one of the things you'll find is if you Google virtual events now, everyone's stuck the word virtual and hybrid on their websites, and it really is quite a minefield. There's some really cool stuff that initially sort of grabs your attention, which was out there before, where you can spend half an hour dressing your avatar and making it look like you and walking around all these virtual booths, and they're quite cool, but is there longevity there? So what happens when, Adam, you're going to the event, but I'm consuming it at home? Am I on one platform doing my virtual world and walking around, and are you on another because you're there with your app and walking through? What we're really, really trying to focus on is how can that connection, how can we share a platform for virtual, live and hybrid? And that's what we're doing. If you're looking through an attendee list and you want to see other attendees, it actually doesn't matter that you're at the event and I'm not, we can still network. We can have just a video conference side of things. If you're engaging in Q&A and I'm engaging in Q&A and we're at home and I see that you've asked a question I think that's interesting, I can connect with you. I haven't looked into the other tools as much as to know the full how it might work in the future or what their plans are, but I think it's quite a difficult ask to convince an attendee to sign up to the virtual platform and then have other attendees actually live at the event without the engagement there.
I'd have to agree with you, and I would really class myself as somebody that's actually been brought up in that virtual world. You know, I'm of the Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox generation. I'm not proud to say it, but I've still got one now that every so often I'll jump on and I'll engage in a game with my friends. It's how sometimes I relax. But for me, you know, very much so that what's represented in terms of those virtual avatar things, I think I'm the same. It seems to be trying to replicate that physical element too much, too hard. And in a B2B environment, especially, I mean, something like that may absolutely work in the environment of, let's say, a Comic-Con, in my opinion. You know, where you've got that audience that are happy to chill, and maybe there's other activities and things that they can do in groups and stuff like that. That to me makes sense. But in a B2B environment, for me, it's all about speed of access of content and information. You know, you want to be able to jump in and out of that session as quick as possible, get the exhibitor information as quickly as possible, because we're busy people. That's just how we are. So for me at the moment, anyway, any kind of online VR company that's providing this technology out there, please forgive me. But for me, it seems actually like an extra hurdle or a barrier that people need to jump through at the moment to engage with what should be there at the click of a button.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is difficult because they are cool and the wow factor is there. But like I said, what happens when half of the attendees are at the event and half of them are online? Can they still engage with each other? And they're advantages at the moment in terms of appeasing sponsors and giving them their virtual booths and that type of thing. Well, we can do similar side of things, but you're not necessarily walking around a 3D environment. But asking a C-level exec, to spend, when they won't even register themselves for some of the events, to actually spend half an hour making your avatar look like yourself might be a tough ask.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see, this is going off tech a little bit, but it's a question I'm asking a couple of people around that kind of facilitating, and you very much pointed it out there with those chief level execs that are time poor. Do you think we'll see a hybrid solution as well around matchmaking, where there will actually be still a human element of it, of maybe a concierge service or somebody that's there to help the attendees or the exhibitors really get to who matters quickly? Because some large events, 40,000 people, that kind of stuff, 20,000 people, that's still a lot of people to try and get through to find who makes sense to talk to, even with all the technology there to help you filter that down and things like that. Do you see that as a future around?
Well, I mean, again, it already exists. There's a huge amount of organizations out there. I was talking to someone just last week that generally works off of an Excel spreadsheet for matching buyers and sellers. There's buyers and sellers events, but within, again, our technology, we have the ability to allow an event organizer to matchmake. to create, okay, because again, as you just mentioned, C-level exec, they're coming along, they're time poor. I want to know who I'm meeting and where I need to be.
Yeah.
And we can help facilitate all of that. The same boat of what we've just been talking about, it doesn't actually matter that one person's maybe there or one's in Hong Kong and one's somewhere else. You can matchmake them and put them together. So there's matchmaking as a AI style tool, or there's simple matchmaking as in, let's get the basics. We need Adam to meet with Kevin at this time, and let's put them together and give them an hour to chat. But that
goes back to allowing our attendees to make recommendations to each other as well, doesn't it? That helps facilitate that. That's still that human interaction, but I guess as organisers, it's not necessarily that having to do that.
Or even for appeasing sponsors. So we've got sponsors or we've got an exhibitor, and we want them to get value for their money. How do we do that? Well, we offer them a roundtable opportunity, which again, can be virtual, can be live, can be hybrid. And we're going to cherry pick 20, the top execs or that we feel are relevant for them and try and get them into that room as an event organizer.
Yeah.
And that can be done. And like I said, that's happening already, and it's happening in the same way in the sort of hybrid world.
One of my other questions for you, Kevin, is, and I'm hoping that you've got the experience with other organisers to offer some wider experience and advice out there. I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of our readers have come from a world where they've tended to offer content for free as a way to provide an audience to sponsor and exhibitor. Done a lot of hard work around that as well, making sure that the right content is in place, invested a lot of money and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very hesitant to switch that model in terms of, let's say, start all of a sudden charging the attendee. I guess the experience there is, well, this content's always not cost me anything, so why do I now have to pay? Which is an old problem that I guess as an industry we need to evolve out of. But those organisers are currently looking at, where can my revenue come from these hybrid events? I know what that looks like physically, but how do I make this online stuff pay? Have you got any advice there for our listeners on options?
Yeah, well, I mean, from my perspective, we're just hearing a lot of different options from event organisers, and some of them are looking at maybe reducing the price of a ticketed event. But of course, one of the beauties is you might not be limited in capacity now. Whereas we used to have a venue for 500 people, we can now allow tens of thousands of people in. And certainly via our platform, we're running virtual events for 40-odd thousand attendees. So that's where we sort of look at it for driving revenue, maybe for lead generation. More people that are there, the more opportunities there are for that. And going back to that other side of things that we just talked about, we're not limited in capacity, certainly for the virtual events. We have multiple rooms that we can host these types of roundtables in. Let's try and matchmake a little bit more and get buyers with sellers and give that added value. Yeah. All right, there might not be a VIP dinner and champagne on arrival and that type of added value, but there certainly is still the ability to create added value in a short period of time for time-sensitive individuals and attendees, and give them direct access to what they need right now. And that can be really, really beneficial to those that are sort of generating the revenue, like the exhibitors.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think one of the things for me that's the most exciting about, I guess, a transition to possibly a hybrid future is very much when you are coming from a sales and marketing angle within any company, the justification of you investing in anything is the output, right? It's the data, it's the statistics, it's the, eyeballs, it's the leads and what that turns into out of the back end of an event. And events have gone through an evolution process where they've become more sophisticated with on-site lead generation tools, badge scanning, touch points, event apps, and then we saw matchmaking start to play a role very much in the beginning. But as that kind of, for me, takes a bigger role in events going forward, it actually allows the sales and marketing team to justify or to track their investment much, much easier to then reinvest in that event going forward, or even increase their investment in that going forward. It was said on a call that I was on this morning that there may be a time when exhibitions specifically get to a point where they no longer sell square meters. They're selling on the basis of lead generation. that, you know, Google sells adverts to you or Facebook. It's all about these are the results and that's what you've paid for ultimately out of the back end of it. Now, I don't think that takes away business from those in-person, those physical events, the tickets, the on-site sponsor revenue. I actually think it gives our industry an opportunity to grow both in revenue and market share when it comes to digital marketing and things like that. I think it opens up doors to other revenues and other facilitation. So I guess it's a statistics play long term, but I think for me that's what's really exciting, is it could actually really bolster our industry and justify the purpose more.
You get a huge amount of data from the events. You get a huge amount of data from simple registration side of things. And if you can, as an example, for you're a B2B company and you've got the events happening, and simply when an attendee registers, can we link that with our CRM to simply say, okay, is there a profile for that person already? If there's not, let's create one. If there is, let's update it. And that type of thing can be done. And the more and more the audience is going to grow, the more and more you're going to capture. And then you're even looking at where they are, what they're doing, this type of thing, not only to benefit yourselves, but to benefit the attendee to personalize their experience at future events, or even the event they're at right now. They've looked at this, we know that about them, therefore let's direct them in this way and give them what they want to see.
So keep selling to those attendees other things. I think organizers are always looking at ways of either geo-cloning or launching another thing. And yeah, you're right, that data insight will probably back up all those feelings of this is the right thing to do. And then off the back of the data go, yeah, we've ticked the box. It's absolutely the right thing to do, because we know our audience is interested, or the sponsors are there to support and make that facilitation happen. I guess, Kevin, one of my final question for you today is, and this is a big one, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, and it's what could the future hold? But as an event technology company, what do you think the future of event tech looks like? Because it's had a massive evolution over the last 8 years of, you know, even in events cases time. Do you think it'll be totally different in the next 8 years to what we see now? Or do you think we're in that process of now it's kind of like Apple, you know, Apple was the big thing. It was the market shift. It was something that we'd never seen before. But then slowly what Apple have done is actually iterate and evolve and refine and make that technology even more compelling and better than what we saw. That was years ago or something, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's certain things that will have to change probably, and maybe even the short term, maybe long term, depend on COVID-19, such as touch points. So such as actually facial recognition for entrance to venues. We've already looked at technology that will take temperatures when attendees are arriving at the event. That type of thing is, I suppose, might be part and parcel just down to the health and safety side of things. As in terms of where the events will go, I've always been a big advocate for trying to personalize the attendee experience.
Yeah.
Actually, and I've worked on some huge events where they've simply said, when attendees turn up, I don't really want them to be making choices. I want them, because it's huge. Some of these events are huge. I actually want to be directing individuals into where they want to go, and guiding them through the journey of where we want them to go. And that type of stuff is available and is growing. I mean, there's some amazing technologies out there now where we can almost sort of say so-and-so is walking up to a booth, and because of the beacon technology they have, I know that actually that's someone that is interested in X, and Adam needs to speak with them. All right, it's a little bit scary at times, but who doesn't want to not waste time?
Yeah.
And giving the ability to not waste time and direct people in where they want to go, if it's meaningful, it's going to benefit everyone.
I think you make a really good point there. We like to think that people want choice, and that is true. People do want choice, but actually what they want is a refined choice, isn't it? Generally. You know, it's kind of like walking into a library and just going, well, we've got 1 million books for you to read. And you're like, well, how do I find the one that, you know, it's the
we're walking into a library and going to the right section, but there's still a lot of choice. The section's the event, because we're going in there and we know that this event is about X, but there's still a huge amount of choice. And
I get frustrated when Netflix doesn't show me 5 things straight away that you know I know I want to watch, and when I have to start hunting through Netflix, that becomes frustrating. in for me, and I'm sure it's the same with attendees when they go to events, especially the larger scale ones that you go to. There's generally far too much content that you could possibly engage with, probably far too many other types of stuff going off, like roundtables and networking stuff and drinks and all that kind of stuff that you can go to. And then just pure scale on people, how do you find the people that really matter to you in terms of either your professional development, your personal development, or just cool people that you should meet and chat to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I agree with you in the terms of like a personalized future is one that I could see happening in the events industry and become our role, I suppose, as the facilitator of that.
Yep.
Kevin, it's been really interesting to have you on today. For anybody that wants to connect up with you personally or check out more about the full suite of technologies that EventsCase offer out to the sector, where should they go?
So eventscase.com is great. Feel free to link with me on LinkedIn. So it's Kevin Lorch, Lorch, and email address klorch@eventscase.com.
Brilliant, Kevin. I'm definitely going to have you back on again in, I reckon, another 6-12 months or something like that. See how the market's changed. Hopefully we were back to physical events then, and we can talk a bit more about that and on-site experience and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for being on today, and we'll catch you soon.
Yep, thanks for the time, Adam. Cheers.